Are you spending too much on marketing or not enough? Most healthcare practices have no idea. They're either bleeding money on ineffective campaigns or they're starving their growth by underspending. Let me show you the actual numbers. 62% of healthcare practices spend 1 to 5% of their gross revenue on marketing. But that range is massive. In most practices, they're just guessing. Here's what you actually need to know. If you want to maintain your current patient volume, you should be spending between 3 to 5% of your gross revenue on marketing. If you want steady growth, that number increases to 8 to 10%. Aggressive expansion, you should be spending 10 to 14% of your gross revenue on marketing. Now, these aren't just random numbers. They're based on what actually works in healthcare marketing. But before you go and set your budgets, you need to understand one very important number: cost per patient, also called cost per acquisition. Now, this is the average amount that you're going to spend to attract and onboard a new patient. And it is the most important metric in your entire marketing strategy. Here's why. Your cost per patient must be lower than the revenue that the patient generates. And I know that sounds obvious, right? But most practices, honestly, they don't track this. Most marketing agencies don't even track this either. They spend $500 to acquire a patient who brings in $300, and they wonder why marketing isn't working. If you can acquire patients at a lower cost than your competitors, you're going to win. You can reinvest those savings into better services, better patient care, better marketing, bonuses, whatever. It will compound. Now let's talk about measuring success. ROI stands for return on investment, and healthcare marketing is simple. ROI equals net profit divided by cost of investment times 100. Here's an example. Let's say you spend $5,000 on a marketing campaign. It generates $25,000 in revenue. Your net profit is $20,000. That's a good campaign. Now, your ROI on that campaign is going to be 400%. That is amazing. If you could pull that off, that's what you need to double down on. So for every dollar you spent, you got $4 back. That's a winning campaign. But here's what most practices miss. They don't assign values to leads. They don't track which channels are working. They don't understand what's working and what's not. They just spend money and hope. That's not marketing, that's gambling. Your patient acquisition cost is calculated like this: total marketing expenses divided by number of new patients acquired. If you spend $10,000 in a quarter and acquire 100 patients, your PAC or patient acquisition cost is $100 per patient. So the lower the PAC means the higher the ROI. It means you're using your budget efficiently. You need to track this monthly or quarterly and watch the trends. Now, if your PAC is going up, something might be broken and you probably need to fix it. If it's going down, you're winning. It's time to double down. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. Patient lifetime value. This is another very important number that you got to know, and most people are not tracking this. This is the total revenue you can expect from a patient over their entire relationship with you and your practice. So the formula to calculate this is average appointment value times visits per year times number of years. So here's an example. Let's say we acquire a patient, $200 appointment per appointment, 3 visits per year, 5 years. That's $3,000 in lifetime value that patient's going to bring you in your practice over the lifetime of the relationship. This is also called LTV. So this number, it really changes everything, because if a patient is worth $3,000 over their lifetime, well, now you understand that you can justify spending $300 to acquire that patient, and that would be a 10x return. Cosmetic practices and med spas often have a lifetime value of $10,000 to $50,000. So they can afford to spend $1,000 to $2,000 to acquire a patient, and they could still be winning big and have a good ROI. Family practices or general practitioners have much lower lifetime values, and so they need to keep their acquisition costs much lower. They also probably don't have a lot of money to spend on marketing either. So you got to know your numbers. You also need to understand your specialty. 5 factors that have a lot to do with determining how much you should actually be spending is number 1, competition. If you're in a crowded marketplace, you're going to require more marketing budget to stand out from the crowd. Number 2, your specialty. For example, cosmetic practices are going to spend more than general practitioners because their patient values are much higher. 3, patient lifetime value. Higher LTVs means you can spend more to acquire that particular patient. Number 4, your growth goals. This is important. You got to know what your goals are. And if you're just maintaining, then you probably don't need to spend as much because it requires less budget. If you're just maintaining. If you're actually going to grow, like with aggressive expansion, you're obviously going to be needing to spend a lot more. You can't just use a maintenance marketing budget, less than 5% of your gross revenue, and expect to grow. It's not going to happen. You got to double that. And number 5 is your channel performance. You need to understand what channels are working, what channels are not. And digital marketing often has lower acquisition costs than traditional marketing because we can track what's working, what's not just kind of like throw an ad up on a billboard or a newspaper and hope it's working or think it's working. It's not going to cut it. So you need to track what works and spend more in the channels that are working, cut the fat, trim the fat, and the things that don't work. So here's how to set your budget. Start with your goals, but use SMART criteria, which stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Analyze your current results. Which channels bring in the most patients? Focus your budget on those channels. And then calculate your patient lifetime value. This is going to tell you how much you can afford to spend on an acquisition. If you bring in a patient and you're, pulling off a $20,000 surgery, you can afford to spend a good amount to acquire that patient. But if you don't understand that, let's say you're freaking out and canceling a marketing campaign that's acquiring patients for $500, and because you think that's high, but it's actually not high. It's actually a huge ROI. So you got to track everything. And ideally, you're tracking it in real time so you could adjust quickly, cut the losers, scale the winners. The practices that win at marketing aren't spending the most. They're spending the smartest. They know their cost per patient, they track their ROI, they understand the lifetime value, and then they can make decisions based on data, not just guesses or assumptions. If you can acquire patients for $200 while your competitor spends $400, you're going to win over time. You can outspend them, outmarket them, and outgrow them, all while being more profitable. So if you want to calculate your exact marketing budget, read the full article in the link in the description. It includes detailed formulas, specialty-specific guidance, and a complete budget framework. Or you could reach out to us, Patient 10X, we're a healthcare marketing agency. We'll analyze your numbers and build a data-driven marketing strategy specifically for you. So stop guessing, start measuring. Your practice deserves better than hope-based marketing.